Welcome everyone to As the Crow Writes. My name is Britton, or Tyler, or BT, my pen name. Here we have with us the wonderful Jesse Fernandez. He will be joining the channel. Today we're going to be talking about some of the things we're reading, watching, playing. So let's start with, what are we playing?
I'm slogging through Red Dead Redemption 2 right now.
Not one, just two.
I never played one, which might be part of the problem because I think a lot of my hate has come from missed expectations. I think I expected more of a narrative, and it seems more to be like Cowboy Simulator, and it's an amazing Cowboy Simulator. It's just... Red Dead Redemption 2 is interesting to me because it's an amazing, incredible game in all of its like singular parts, but I think it has shown me how important a one singular thread of a narrative is to me specifically. Cyberpunk is very similar, where it has like 1,000 different things that you can do, so many different companions that you can like have stories with them and have little side offshoots, but they also have like the main thread and the main mystery of like Johnny and of like everything with Arasaka and all of that stuff that like help pull you through it and help you care about the main character in the world.
You mentioned the central mystery or central thread here. One of those, I think, it's almost built in, and that's almost a detriment to the game because you want to see how things got to where they were in Red Dead 1. Since this is a prequel, I think there's part of you're like, how did we get here? Why are some of these characters not in the first game? If you haven't played the first one, that's tough. I mean, I can't just remove it from my brain, so it's hard to think about sort of that bias. I will say I think you're probably right when it comes to like that thread being stronger. I think something like Cyberpunk or Witcher 3, very big open world narratives, but their thread is pretty strong. And that, Geralt has to save Ciri, and you can like loosely follow that as you go among the different stories. In this one, the thread is more of like, hey, just hang out with the gang and see how it just kind of goes awry and goes bad, I suppose.
Another game that I've been playing recently and loving is the Mass Effect games. I've been playing through 2 right now, and I still get that like gang vibe where you have like all these companions and you have like your team, but like there's still that main thread, and like you learn to care about them and then you go into their quests. And I think I like that formula so much more than just like having to innately care because they're in front of you.
I don't know, I think that's a really good takeaway to say, okay, when I'm creating a story or when I'm looking at other ones, what is that main thread among the many little ones, right? The game that I'm playing, Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, same idea. This is actually a semi-open world game. I'd almost call it more of like there are hubs and you can explore the hubs for as long as you want. But then you still have your central mystery theme or your thread. It's like, okay, well, is that time sensitive or not? And I think it pulls it off well. It's not really time sensitive. He's just like, Indy's just around. What's cool, I'll say, is that it interweaves the side content really well to the main plot thread. And if you can pull that off, I think you're in really good shoes.
There's a fun balance of like, how do you make the thread feel like the player wants to know what's going on and it feels like an immediate danger, but not so immediate that they avoid all of the side quest? It's kind of what you were saying, where it's like, the Wild Hunt is coming, we have to save Ciri, go play Gwent. Like it's like, yeah, it's like how hard to like,
I'm in a Gwent tournament.
Yes. Like does the Great Circle like balance that? Does it really have side quests to like divert your attention, or is it basically just the main thread?
It does. I'm actually surprised at the amount of content that you can loot or find, and that's what I think it taps in so well to the Indiana Jones idea, or just the like swashbuckler adventure style. But Indy is special because he's almost one of the first to do it, at least in my memory. From his films. So it really taps into the character well, because they're in these like hub areas you're at, you can just spend hours finding stuff. And they have a lot of cool lost artifacts. There's certain relics. What's cool is the relics are they're actually semi-related to the main plot thread. It's like if you found them, it's cool because it's like hinting at something. If you didn't find them, it's not like I don't think it'll sour the experience. I think it just helps to layer what's going on.
Okay, awesome. Do you want to jump into what we're watching right now?
Yes, I recently watched, and I've seen it before, Knives Out. I think Knives Out is a wonderful film to actually dissect and really dig deep into how Rian Johnson pulled this off. I'll talk very lightly about what happens, but there's the whodunit portion, and that lasts about 40-ish, 50ish minutes in the film, and
Oh,
I
really?
think
That's it?
as
Okay.
yeah, so there's actually a good portion of the film left that you're like, "Oh," and that's what's so crazy, he almost pulls the rug from you. So it starts out as like a traditional whodunit narrative, Agatha Christie style, interview different people, find out who murdered this person. The film even opens with that murder. So you're just like, okay, maybe you can listen to all these little clues. Who did what? Who did this? And then at that 50-minute mark, the film just reveals what happens. And so you're like, oh, okay, so the film is done now, I suppose. But then you're like, no, 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 we're just getting started. Like, oh my gosh. So now it becomes the whodunit to like, how do you get away with it? And it all revolves around the central character, Marta, played by Ana de Armas. So you're like really like, okay, I'm really rooting for this person because under certain circumstances, she didn't really mean to, but so you find yourself as an audience rooting for them, and you're like, how can she get out of this scenario? And so that's where it flips. So you're totally what you're expecting here is completely flipped, and then by the end of the film, it does a good job of actually wrapping both of those types of narratives up because it turns back into a who actually done it.
Okay. Yeah.
And then also sort of like I thought, vindicating the protagonist. And that's where one of my thoughts I've had on this before was I found it very interesting that Marta as a character didn't actually change very much in this narrative. And a lot of times they don't in like a whodunit scenario, it's fine. But what's interesting here is that her character is still very believable, and I really loved her ending because she was vindicated. And it was like, oh, okay, the things I saw from her were actually true. And there's something very powerful about that. When she actually won at the end, it was like, okay, this feels very earned because she was staying true to her character. I really love that. I don't know what your thoughts are on character growth when it comes to everything actually lined up. Have you seen that before?
I have, but I feel like you typically see it with villains, which is really interesting to see it as a protagonist, which just feels like a cool like twist on the trope.
Yeah, you're sure.
I feel like there's two ways to do character progression. There's actual character progression where you are watching the character change throughout the narrative. And then there is like perspective change on the character where you think you understand their motives, you think that you understand who they are, but then your perspective as the audience changes, which again typically happens with villains where you're like, oh, here's this horrible, like Thanos for instance, that is killing everyone, but then you like see like, oh, this is why he's doing these things. He's like basically dealing with the trauma of losing his homeworld and trying to have this not happen to the universe at large. So it is really interesting to see it as a protagonist.
So how about you? What we got? What are we watching?
What I'm kind of stumbling through is Spartacus right now.
Okay, have not seen it.
Okay, my own book that I'm writing is very like arena, like tournament focused, and a lot of Spartacus's plot threads are around this like, okay, 1v1 combat, arena, how do you keep that fresh? How do you keep things like constantly gaining stakes when you're basically two people in an arena just bashing swords against each other?
Because they probably have a lot of one-on-one battles, right? Like a lot of
Yeah, it seems really simple and dumb, but one of the things that I think Spartacus does really well is it treats its fight scenes the same way that it would treat any other plot thread. One of the things that writers are told to do in dialogue, for instance, is to always have conflict in dialogue. It's really boring to just listen to two people agree to each other all the time.
Right, I was gonna say that, like two agreeing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the slightest bit of conflict, maybe there's sexual tension, maybe there's like some moral dilemma, maybe there's some kind of like power dynamic between the two. They do the same thing with the fight scenes. Like there's always either one person who's way stronger or one person who's way weaker. There's either some kind of moral clashing of one person who believes one thing and one person who believes another, or there's some strategic play that like this is a huge political thing.
Here's a question for me. When Spartacus is in the arena here, does that make it a little more boring because you almost know the outcome? Is there a way that it keeps that fresh, or is it like, okay, he's gonna win?
In the beginning, you don't know because he loses a lot in the beginning. And every failure is not necessarily death. But I think there is something that happens with stakes that just by nature of it being a narrative, the stakes grow as the story continues. And because of that, the consequences tend to grow to be more fatal, which also like means that you're never worried that he's going to lose anymore because the stakes are too high for him to lose. I think people complain about this a little bit with Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones like gained its flavor by punishing main characters where most writers would give them plot armor. But then as the story continues, the stakes were too high and there were too many characters that needed to succeed for George Martin to continue to punish characters in the way that he had.
When you're dealing with characters who are, one, very strong, I was thinking, Spartacus made me think of this, you don't want to become too mundane and be like, okay, he's just going to win every battle. So how do you keep that interesting? And then the other side is you have a character that, like you mentioned, Jon Snow, who's going through, I mean, he's in a large portion of the narrative. So how do you keep that fresh where other characters are dying, but this particular one is not? Why? And that starts to lead the question. So it's like you almost can't win. You want to be realistic and kill characters, but then you get caught because certain characters, this is their story in a way. So you can't kill them. So I think maybe people caught on as the books and show progressed was that Jon Snow was unkillable in a sense. But that's where I
mean,
would
until he
pose
wasn't, and then they brought him back.
Right. And that's, I mean, I wanted to praise Martin in the books for that reason of like subverting that expectation of this character's fine. You know, I thought that with Ned. The first Game of Thrones book is one of the best because you are just flipped on it your head because you're like, how did this happen? But when you think back, you're like, well, that does make a lot of sense actually, because the world is evil. And I feel like that's one of the strengths of the book is that Martin was saying, hey, this is the message I'm giving to you, the reader, is that this world is not kind. So my kind character's probably gonna die. And I think that's pretty powerful. So yeah, I kept it fresh for me.
It's also fascinating to me because from a historical standpoint, for anyone that knows his story, you know that he loses. The slave war, Spartacus and all of his generals were all crucified. You know that they all died. As a storyteller, how do you have that in a satisfying way? How do you make it feel like these conflicts come to resolution?
You bring up a good point. I mean, you're saying you almost get the ending first. And I mean, I think we've seen this before actually a lot with stories is they'll give you a piece from some part of the timeline and then it backs up and it's like, how did we get there? But here it's like, well, this is a historical event, or, you know, partly historical, right?
Vaguely.
So it's like,
yeah.
How can we get to this point, but also make it satisfying? I think it's a big challenge. To defend Red Dead 2 again, real quick, that's sort of the same setup. Red Dead 1, you play that game, so you actually know how it ends. And 2 is sort of, how did we get there?
Oh, I forget that 2 is a prequel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're left wondering, okay, how did all this happen? Let's hop on to what we're reading.
What are we reading? What are you reading?
So I am reading legendary Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. And that is a tough book.
I have only read excerpts from that book. I've not read it fully, so I'm interested to hear your perspective on this.
I mean, excerpts would even be really interesting because it's dripping with description of its world and a lot of subtext going on. So I would even say like narratively is not a huge narrative going on behind it that I can tell. And again, I'm not finished. I'm probably like maybe halfway. But I think by that point you would almost pull out a narrative. And at the moment, I'm still having trouble deciding what is the narrative here. So maybe by the end point, you can say, okay, I can see sort of the journey. But at this moment, it's a little difficult. The descriptions, though, are wonderful. It really places me in the world. A lot of it's real and it's scary, you know, because he was talking about a real period of time and he's got some of these really weird characters. Everyone knows the judge.
That's the part that I know. The judge, some of the descriptions of the judge, I'm like, this guy is haunting. That's
what's so powerful. Like if you read Cormac's works and you take anything away from it, it would be the descriptions to really get you into the world. And 2 would be some of these more elusive characters to define. I feel the same way with No Country for Old Men is the villain in that. His backstory isn't really defined a whole lot, and same with I feel like the judge isn't. He's just there, and he's borderline mythological in the way that people have encountered him, and he's so bizarre.
Some of these older, like more classic novels, they go a little harder on description. There's a concept in writing called like Orwellian prose or clear prose. Basically, George Orwell, famous writer, coined this metaphor of prose being a pane of glass that you see the story through. You want the prose to be as undistracting as possible to see the story that goes on behind it. And the more that you flower up your prose, the more it colors the glass and the harder it is to see the story behind. Do you feel like it takes away from the story at all?
That is a really good question. I think it's something that any writer should really be thinking about. Like, obviously write the story you're dreaming of, but when you're looking at your story, take that hard question and say, what should be cut? What's going to help this come through? I don't know. I don't want to be too controversial. I feel like it does take away a bit.
Okay, interesting. Okay. I have also felt this way, but I've only read excerpts, so I'm interested.
Cormac is such a good writer, though. So I've read The Road, and I think it is incredible. That is another book, though, that is loose on narrative. But I think I like the way the pace that it goes at is a little different. So by the book's end, I can look back and say, this was about just pure survival, and there's some interesting character things going on here, like choices that the characters make. And so I haven't really had a lot of that in Blood Meridian. It seems to be more, I almost want to say commentary on the way things were or are in that time period. And just like expressing this brutal nature of what's going on with Native Americans and this judge character. Yeah, I'm going to go back and forth, but I think for the moment, it feels like it's taking away a bit because there's so much description that's, of course, wildly interesting, but I think you're coming for more than that. What are you currently reading?
You can kind of see it right there. I am reading Overlord, which, as you can tell, there are lots of them.
Yes.
Put simply, it's a portal fantasy. I wouldn't even say a necessarily good portal fantasy, but
okay. Well, what keeps you coming back to it?
Partially it's because I started reading it at a point in my life where I had not read anything like it. I had basically only ever read Narnia as a portal fantasy. Overlord was like so different. You basically follow this character who everyone thinks is a dark overlord, but in reality he's just like a nerdy dude that has to keep up the facade, otherwise all of his minions will turn on him. So he's like constantly trying to be evil when he's really just a dweeb. I don't think it's particularly good because it feels like it's trying to dip its toe into really dark issues, but it never fully commits, and it will always lean on the side of playing things off for laughs when it could have a really interesting conversation with the reader. There's another series called Lotna Saga that I think does it a lot better. Lotna Saga deals with a lot of the same issues where it's a portal fantasy of a man going there, but like the god forgets that he's there, so he gets stuck in basically purgatory for thousands and thousands of years. And throughout the series, he has to deal with the trauma of this and all of these horrible things. And it's still very, very funny. There's so many funny moments. But it's also just incredibly dark, and it will really deal with depression and anxiety and like PTSD and all of these things that are really heavy topics.
That makes sense, yeah, because I'm thinking about a juxtaposition of laughter and comedy with some of the more horror elements. And they don't seem like they would work, but they actually, if you pace them well, I think that they could work really, really well together in tandem. Because I've even with certain films have done this where they'll use, I don't know, comedy-esque moments, and I'm like, this is a horror film. What are we doing? But I think if you've ever seen Evil Dead, I think it does.
Oh yes,
impeccably well. So if you ever want some inspiration, watch that. It's interesting to think about. It's like, okay, why does this work? It's almost like that, you're talking about that brevity. I think that you need some of those lighthearted moments to be like, okay, we made it. And there's still some goodness in the world.
If you can pull it off, I think it works really well. I think you start getting really dangerous with tone. Like you have to be a master of tone and pacing and timing.
I'm afraid for some of the like lighthearted moments when I'm writing. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can, I'm in such like an emotional state here. I don't know if I can transition well. So I agree. I think it's a masterful stroke to be able to do both. We'll wrap here. But thanks everyone for tuning in and listening to us talk about some of these wonderful things that we're currently exploring. Hopefully we will continue to do this on a regular basis and just check in with what we're currently consuming.
Yeah, the crow's nest.
Yeah, the old crow's nest. So thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.